The world is going through such a phase. Is it alright? How you say? See the people looking out for lookers. You can be so rich and you can be so poor. You're gonna see a sunshine time. Oh yeah, man. Look at the lookers and see what they're doing. Sunshine fade, sunshine fade, sunshine fade, sunshine fade. Oh yes. Take what you want, take what you got. Let me have it. Oh, you're gonna have it all right. And you're gonna see. Oh, where the sunshine fades. Take it away, boy. Sunshine, sunshine.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men and women. Welcome to Tony J.R. Galpohkpa Chesson talk show. Today is November the 21st. We came on earlier today, but I didn't like the sound of my volume and I didn't like the sound of my wife's graphics. Her camera was not focused enough. So we are back on, and I hope you all can hear us. And we intend to keep this program rolling as it is now. So today has been a challenging day for Liberian people all over our country and throughout the diaspora. Our country is still facing challenges of leadership, of education, of societal living and livelihood for our people. And our whole problem in Liberia rests basically on education, on the enlightenment of the masses of our people. And as we continue to find a way to determine what our problem is and how we can solve them and what we need to do to provide the young children in our society better standards of living, where their educational abilities will be brought out through our systems of education, through the Ministry of Education planning and an educational objective based on our Liberianization policy, based on teaching our children in the schools, based on writers, scientists, and community people who are interested in educating our people through our own abilities to write, to analyze, to teach, and to strive and enhance the lives of our young children. So, as most of the other shows continue to focus on Liberians and Liberian in the diaspora, my show is also focused towards my African American brothers, our African American brothers and sisters, who are part of our culture, part of our society, part of our Africanism. So, this is the time for us to pay more attention to both of our cultures, to see how we can bring these two cultures together, where our brothers and sisters in the United States of America who are African Americans will understand that they too have an obligation to help their brothers and sisters in Africa, and particularly in Liberia, because we are African Americans. Of all the African nations, African Americans returned to and founded Liberia. Unlike other African nations, we had no colonial masters to build our nations. We have no colonial queen or king or anything from foreign countries to build our country for their people to live in. No, our country was founded for us. And black people, like be African people, build our own country. And that is where our pride and dignity comes from. That's where it emanates from. Because as the first democratic republic on the continent of Africa since 1847, we have made grave achievements and grave accomplishments on the continent, helping our other brothers and sisters, enlightening them about the processes of democratic tendencies, leadership, governance, and all these things. Liberians have a profound legacy in Africa. Every African organization that existed prior to the fucking man was led by Liberians. Even during Ellen Johnson's time, she led ECOWAS, even though her leadership was weak, but she led them, you know. And these are the things that we are blessed with as a people. And these are the things we need to thank our God for, because each and every day He demonstrates to us that He is a significant part in everything we undertake to do in our lives, in everything we strive to achieve and accomplish in our lives. So it is up to us. It is up to us to reach out to our brothers and sisters and invite them to join us and help in building the first democratic Negro Republic of Africa, the Republic of Liberia. So today, I brought up my wife earlier. She's an African American, an educator, and she was an associate dean and director at one of America's great institutions of learning, an Ivy League university, Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island. And I was fortunate to meet this woman, and I was fortunate to have dated her and marry her. And she's a great uh, uh, compliment, not only to me, but she compliments the Liberian community and society. And having this great educator with us, my wife has participated in Liberian community activities. She has been to Liberia, and she has really led programs in Rhode Island to promote Liberians and the Liberian Community Association. So as an educator, I want to bring her on tonight, as I did earlier, so we can talk about education, about her experiences in Liberia and with the Liberian community, and how she can continue to help us identify our problems, our issues, and things that we need to know that will help us grow and prosper as a country and a people. Okay, so let me bring my wife on so we can have this conversation. I'm sure she's sitting in the background there waiting and ready. Karen, come on.
Thanks, Rodney.
How are you, Karen?
I'm fine, dear, and thank you for wanting me to be on the show.
Well, you're a compliment to it, and as my co-producer, co-director, it's time for us to get into this module and bring our show to the public. So I'm glad you could join me today for this interview, and I hope we can do more it in the evening as we invite more people to come on. Because if you are listening in the background,
You
I
know, I
want,
heard everything.
yes, I want our African American people to be involved with the education and the direction of our society because we need educators. We need people to come and help us and complement us in what we want to do. Join us, help build us and our nation. So, since you're here, Karen, I ask you to briefly tell us about yourself and what you've been doing.
Okay, all right, I'll briefly tell folks about myself. I grew up in Roxbury and the South Shore of Massachusetts, and had an interesting education. My parents were religious and also gave to the community that I grew up in, the communities I grew up in. So we're talking about Roxbury, and they gave to South Shore of Boston. And their, I guess, ideal of giving back to the community rubbed off on me, and I did so. Um, I worked with SNCC Corps in the Black Panthers, and also in the 70s, Head Start began, so I worked with them. I also worked with Boston Housing and helped to relocate the elderly who were in housing that was substandard. I also worked with disabled young people on the South Shore. And those were some of the things that I did during my junior and senior year. I also, participated at the Alma Lewis School of Fine Arts and had ballet lessons and theater lessons and did shows for Franklin Park. They had shows every weekend for the community. And right, so then I went on to college. I went to Brown University, graduated from Brown in 3 years, and then went on to law school. I went to two law schools and completed at Antioch School of Law in Washington, D.C. I worked with Senator Ted Kennedy as a legislative aide. I did research on biomass, energy, agricultural issues. I did research on Indian issues, Native American issues, um, and have had a rich background. I worked with a Black state senator, Royal Bowling Sr., and ended up helping to run his son's campaigns. He had two sons, one who was running for state rep and one who was running for city council. So, to make a long story short, I've had a rich education on community issues. I've had a rich education academically. And any way I can share and impart information to your um, audience, I'm happy to do.
Sounds good, Karen. Um, as a wife of a Liberian and a person who has participated in Liberian community organizations, events, and affairs, what are some of the issues you believe pose grave educational problems for Liberians
Uh,
here in America and in Africa, if you can relate to that?
okay. Well, I think a couple of things. I think that African Americans need to rise to the occasion and help with causes in Liberia. For one reason, Liberia is the only uh, nation that is not colonialized. That's one reason. Another reason is because African Americans founded Liberia, and your maternal grandfather was one of the leaders in Liberia. Um, and your maternal grandmother just happened to be a Gula queen. And when we went to South Carolina, we saw a, what the Gula people were doing when they landed in South Carolina. And if you can remember, Rodney, I thought it was so interesting. You must have a familiar face because I remember a man running up to the car and asking, "Where have you been all these years?" And that the people of South Carolina needed you to make a difference in their lives. I thought we both were like, huh, what? But, you know, I think that was very special because that person recognized you as someone he thought could help enrich their lives. And, there's another thing. Um, your grandfather is from Sally, your maternal grandfather is from the Thomas Jefferson plantation. And, I think that, you have such a rich history. And I guess you're destined to make a difference in the lives of other people, especially Liberian people, because that's where you grew up and that's where you are committed to. You've also been committed to the United States, but we won't go there. You've been in the service and so on and so forth, and giving your life to both countries. So I'm going to just cut it off there.
so,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, did you touch on the problems you see in the community?
Okay. Um, I hate to say it, but we as Black people are our worst enemy. And, that's a reality and that's always going to be a constant. But there are people in the community, the Liberian community, who have given their hearts and souls to the people who in Rhode Island. Um, one being Henrietta, who has,
You talking about Henrietta Holder?
yes, Henrietta Holder, who has higher ground. In Liberia, she worked on getting, I believe, running water in some areas of Liberia. And here, she works with the elderly and made contacts so that food during COVID and pre COVID, food could be given to the Liberian community. Um, Alice Howard, with her Sunrise Forever, fundraises for backpacks for children in Liberia, and has also gotten into the franchise of contacting people and getting food out to the community. These are people who you can tell love. It comes from their hearts. Um, and I did work with the Liberian community several years ago, as well as you. You were a speaker for the community, and you worked hard. You wrote documents. You supported the elderly program. You supported the after school program. You know, and so obviously giving back has been in your gene and my gene, and trying to make a difference for the communities in which we live. Um, so there you go.
So we do have some challenges too.
Yeah.
So how would you describe your interaction with the associations? I mean, this is a shoot off from the last questions. From the last question. Now, how would you describe your relationship with the communities and the community people? Some of the people you name as working in the community. I'm sure you work with some of them. So how would you describe your relationship with them and the effectiveness? You already mentioned that in a way. So let's just hear about your relationship with them.
I think, like I told you, well, I think about a couple of things. I think about the young people in Liberia. I think about who's infusing positive aspirations for them, who's trying to make a difference in their lives, and going beyond the Rhode Island community, having been to Liberia, having seen the spirit of the people. And that was a little while ago. But one thing I learned is that the Liberian people are strong people. They are determined. And through their determination, they will progress. But when I think about Ellen Sirleaf Johnson having been president for 12 years and realizing that the children of the Liberia, having been exposed to an Ivy League institution, having been exposed to a Nobel Peace Prize, why education of the people was not a priority. You know, Today, the schools in Liberia should be free. Um, Everybody can't pay for private schools. They should have hot breakfasts and lunches for those children who go to school. They should have schools that provide books, that provide electricity and running water. Liberia's deserving. It's still the country that has the most illiterate people. Why is that? That breaks my heart as an educator. Um, so there's a lot of work to do. And the current leadership, which comes from the previous leadership, needs to think about the people. Have a sense of patriotism, have a sense of duty to your people. They deserve A, to have an education, B, to have food, C, to have running water, D, to have electricity. And if you are not able, as the leader of that country, to make a difference in the quality of life of the people, then there's a problem. So, with that said, Rodney, it breaks my heart to know that the people are suffering in Liberia.
So now that we talk about Liberia, let's get on the other topic now. The United States of America, your home. Uh, One of the problems in Liberia is leadership. Like you touched on earlier about Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and now we have George Weah. At least you went to Liberia under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration. So you saw Liberia under that time, and you've kept in contact with Liberia through me and other community members since then. So our problem is leadership. And we see in America, we have a leadership problem here too. So what's your view to Trump's administration?
I wish you wouldn't ask me about that because, yeah, that's a sad tale. A, Trump is a liar. B, he's not a leader. Well, he's led 70 million people. Is that correct?
Yes.
There are 70 million people in the United States who think he is wonderful. But there's 170 million people who don't think that he's so wonderful. Trump is, well, first of all, he should never have been elected. But he was elected, and he's shown his how do I call it? He's shown that he wants to be a king of the United States. He wanted to be a king of the United States. And he wanted to expose his children to opportunities because he wanted to be a king. Not a president of the United States, but king of his own family. And I guess it was only his family who were able to reap the benefits of his position. And, I am so happy that Joe Biden won and Harris won the election so they can take America back, or at least back to a sense of credibility, to a sense of honesty, to a sense of patriotism. It's so sad where Trump has brought us. On the international scene, we have no respect as a country. And that is sad. We've always had racism because certainly from slavery, we've had racism. So that is clear. That's not Trump's problem, but he has perpetrated racist problems in our country. He has supported racism today in the United States. I think, and racism takes many forms. It's in our educational institutions. It's in our law enforcement agencies. It's all over the place. It's in housing. There are people who head social service programs who are racist. You know, there are governors who are racist. There are senators who are racist. You notice how quiet Republicans are when Donald Trump speaks. So you asked me about Donald Trump. Donald Trump had his 4 years of service to his own constituency. I welcome the Biden Harris administration to attempt to make a difference in racial issues along with a host of other issues. And, here's another thing. I can remember months ago watching the news how Pence was the head of the COVID committee. We never heard about what kind of plan they have. And, if our president and his own family run around like COVID is not existent, well, that's very sad because over 250,000 people in the United States have died from COVID. And the mask thing, making fun of people, this is from the Trump administration and the Republicans who refuse to wear masks are killing people.
Everywhere they've been and the president went is blowing up with COVID-19 now.
Well, look, the White House was filled with COVID.
Yeah.
Look at how many staff members had COVID because of the president running around spreading it and having events at the White House.
And infectious too.
Oh, no, he's beyond infectious. He's self-serving. Look, he's the only COVID person I've seen who survived on top. Everybody else is going to have residual effects. That's going to be a pre-existing situation. And oh, by the way, they're trying to get rid of Obamacare. And Obamacare has helped probably more white people than black people or minority people. So let's wake up and smell the coffee. Let's escort Trump out, whatever way possible. And let's let Biden and Harris and Democrats reach across the aisle, talk to those people, shake a little sense in them so that, A, we can try to eliminate starvation in this country. B, We can try to eliminate homelessness in this country. C, we can stop the foreclosures of people who can't stay into their homes. D, we can help people who can't afford to pay their rent. We need health services and we need food.
Yep.
I mean, how can people go on Thanksgiving vacation without having taken care of that on both sides of the aisle? So I pray that when they come back, that there's some movement on the stimulus and the supplemental for people who are coming off unemployment, because our numbers are beyond what this United States has ever experienced. And our people need to be able to be safe and be able to eat.
So true. So, Kyle, um, it's good talking with you. And
Thank you, Rodney.
we could go on touching on issues, but that will come at another time. And I hope that we can get more guests on to discuss these issues of education, what
Okay.
people need to do. And so I want to spend more time in the African American community with the teachers and our brothers and sisters who can really contribute to our people, especially in the rural island area,
Mhm.
is where we are. And those who are in other states, if hopefully they will watch this program, we will,
And we need to be able to talk about health issues as well.
yeah,
It's not just education, which you do every day, but it's also health issues.
yeah,
It's also structural and political issues that play a role and impede the growth and development of Liberia, as well as what's happening here in the United States.
yeah.
And hopefully within the next month or two, will be done in the United States with Trump. Trump has done his damage and he needs to pay
Big time.
for his behaviors.
Yeah,
And if he has any illegal engagements, it's sad that the people who support him don't see that the reason he's pushing to try to delay the certifications is because he really wants to stay in office.
mm,
He's betrayed his own following.
but he's a big loser. He could go.
Yeah, but he's betrayed his following. He's betrayed 70,000 people, a million people.
Karen, I get all of that, but you know, if those people can follow Donald Trump, they need to be betrayed. You know, the man's a racist. He's full of hate. He's a corrupt man. He's immoral. The man, you can just go on with this man on and on and on.
Well, that's true.
So if they're following him like all the evangelists were, now the head of the evangelist, he himself coming to himself, and he was on the show talking about how he's sorry he misled the church, he misled America because Donald he should have never listened to Donald Trump.
True.
Poor evangelist church got stain on them as Christians. You
Mhm.
know, you follow this man who's so corrupt and evil and disputing other people, putting down other people, racist and condemning them and insulting people. And the church is one of the main supporters of this man. Not the church, but the evangelists.
Mhm.
That's a serious problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Karen, we've been on enough. And this is our first time, so I don't want to just carry on, carry on. We'll get guests. You're my co-editor, co-producer. So when we get guests, we have the opportunity to both and put them on a microscope and see what we get out of the brains to help the people we need our help.
Okay.
But before you leave, you
Hmm.
got to give us some pearls of wisdom. This is the conclusion, so take us home.
Okay, my young people, persevere, don't give up. Things are going to change. Do not be afraid. For those of you who are in trades, um, learn the best you can. For those of you who are in college, learn the best you can. But both constituencies need to realize that you are always going to need a mentor. So don't be afraid to reach out to people who are approachable for help so that you will be able to excel. Don't worry. Like I said, we are in very serious and depressing times now. But don't give up. Stay your course and realize that we rely on you to make a difference in our world. Therefore, hang in there and don't give up. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Because, like I said, you are the promise of tomorrow. Take care. And I have confidence that you're going to make a difference.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Karen. And ladies and gentlemen, before I close, I want to take a few moments and reflect before I come back to do my conclusion. Thank you very much, Karen. And I look
Thank
forward
you.
to talk with you tomorrow night.
All right, there.
Well, folks, break and we'll get back. Well, we're back. I want to extend my thanks and appreciation to my wife, Karen McLaurin Chesson, for this brief and wonderful interview we had. I hope you all enjoyed it too and look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. I will be on tomorrow at 5 o'clock for my show, but my wife and I will be on tomorrow night, and we hope to have a guest with us so we can go more into the education of people and bringing African and African Americans together to help us advance the lives and livelihood of Liberian people here and in the West African Republic of Liberia. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much. My show has come to an end, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. I just want my brother, Leonardo the Man Chesson, to take us home because he's the man, and we look forward to getting him to do these wonderful things for us. Okay? Thank you. Ah!
Sunshine face is an art.